Today we're going to make a no-bake s'mores pie. It has layers of graham cracker crust and a whiskey dark chocolate ganache and then a silky smooth milk chocolate cream cheese mousse, and then it's all topped off with a mound of marshmallow fluff. It's to die for. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the subscribe button below and click the bell icon so that you're notified every time I make a new and delicious recipe. Let's get into it. So, super easy. Obviously it's no bake, so we are not going to bake anything. We are just going to take our butter, plop it in there. You could totally do this in the microwave, but I don't know, feeling a little old school. So we're going to let that melt, and then we're going to combine everything. Super easy. So this recipe makes a 9-inch deep dish, or this is actually a 10-inch, which is a little bit shallower. It's going to be a little bit too much for like a shallow kind of disposable baking tin. You're going to want to like reduce it by a third, the whole recipe. Okay, butter's melted. That's it. I've got my graham cracker crumbs here in this bowl. I use store-bought crumbs that are pre-crumbled, but you can also use graham crackers and pulse them in the Roboku or crush them by hand. You'll just have bigger pieces if you do it by hand. You can also whack them with a rolling pin. Fun fact. Okay, so graham cracker crumbs, kosher salt. Do not forget this. It's very important. And butter. All up in there. 3 ingredients and you got yourself some magic. You can add a little bit of light brown sugar like I do in my baked version, but totally optional. It's gonna look like wet sand, and then it'll kind of, you know, hold when it's pressed. And we're just gonna dump it in our pie dish. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. Okay. Press her in. I'm gonna do it by hand, but you could use a tart tamper if you want, but I see no reason. It's not that serious. So I like to start by making a flat bottom, and then I kind of start to press out from the center, and this makes sure that you kind of have an even amount all the way around your pie. If any parts get too thin, just kind of move some more around it. Okay, and then we're going to use our knuckles, and we are going to press it out like this. Okay, and then I like to go ahead and finish it off on the top. Okay, that's in the fridge, and we are ready to start our ganache. I've got semi-sweet chocolate here and heavy cream. I'm going to put that in my pot and then turn that on high, get that going. So while my cream comes to a boil, I am just going to sit here and wait. No, I'm not. I'm going to go do something else. But I've got kosher salt. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in my chocolate. So you want your cream just to come to a boil. You don't want to let it keep boiling. You want it to just kind of come to a nice rolling boil. If you don't take it far enough, if it doesn't come to a boil, then you're going to have to kind of heat this over a bain-marie, which is just simmering water, to try and get it to melt, because it is a lot of chocolate. This is a 50-50 ganache, which means that it's 50%, it's a 1-to-1 ratio of chocolate to heavy cream. Okay, she's come to a full boil. We were ready for her, and we are going to go ahead and pour that all over our chocolate. Kind of just whoosh. Now I'm going to give it a little shake to cover all the chocolate, and then we are going to wait. Yes, wait. We do as little work as possible in this kitchen, okay? So we're going to let the heavy cream do all the hard work for us, and all we're going to do is emulsify. So just let it sit there, let it melt the chocolate. It'll take about a minute, maybe 2 if you want to be safe. And then, you know, we come in and do the final work, and it looks like we just slaved all day. We didn't do anything. So while I'm waiting for my ganache, I'm just going to prep for the next step. So I've rinsed out the same pot because no more dishes than we have to, am I right? With hot water. And I am going to, I filled it like just a little bit of hot water, and we're going to turn that on and kind of bring it to a simmer, and then it will be ready for the next 2 steps. Here with all the tricks for you. And you know what's ready? Our ganache. I know. So we're going to go ahead and put our whisk in there. If you feel any sort of resistance, if you feel hard bits of chocolate, just let it continue to set a little bit. If your room is very cold, you can put the bowl on a towel, which will help kind of keep that heat inside. And then we're just going to start in the center and just gently kind of stir. And you're like, it's not doing anything. I messed it up. You didn't mess it up. No, you didn't. Just keep going, okay? Patience, yeah? And then all of a sudden, there she is. Yeah? You start to see that nice emulsion in the center, and that's when you can start working your way out to the sides. And voila. Yep. Now, you don't want to break your emulsion. If you whisk too much or too vigorously, or you kind of switch your directions around and your chocolate's all like, no, stop, then you could break your emulsion. If you do break your emulsion, then you are going to try and add a little bit of cold cream, and whisk that in gently, lovingly, with care. And then that should bring it together. So now we've got ourselves a beautiful ganache right here, am I right? And we are ready for the whiskey. My yes. So this is an adult ganache, and it's a lot of whiskey. Use your favorite. Just saying. You can taste it. Pour it in, whisk it in. You got yourselves a beautiful ganache, okay? Set her aside. And you know what's ready? Our crust. I wouldn't lie to you. Would not lie. Yes, indeed. Okay. And then we are going to pour her in. I know, look at that. Totes. Get it all in there. Just get it all in there. Yep, all that chocolate. We want it in our pie. All right, go ahead and kind of just wiggle it out. And back into the fridge she goes. And by the time our mousse layer is ready, this will be set. So my water's come to kind of a simmer. I'm gonna turn it off until I'm ready, because we're gonna need a stand mixer. You can do this with a hand mixer, but mine died, so. Okay, so this mousse is super easy. We are gonna start by melting our chocolate. That's milk chocolate. Just gonna go ahead and use your favorite brand. I use Ghirardelli, just really like the way it works with this. While our chocolate is melting, I'm gonna start beating our cream cheese because this is cold. So this is just one 8-ounce packet, full fat, not whipped, not light. It won't like set as a mousse, which would be sad for everyone. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and fit this in a stand mixer. You could do this with a hand mixer as well. No big deal. I'm just gonna start that going in there. I just want to break it up so that the 10X doesn't fly everywhere. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put our confectioner sugar in there. It's not too much because milk chocolate is sweeter, and you do still want a little bit of that tang from the cream cheese. And then I've got a pinch of salt. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up, turn it back on, just slowly let that cream cheese work in, and then we'll let it come up. Meanwhile, we will stir our little chocolate here. She's starting to melt. So this mousse is not difficult. There's no gelatin or anything tricky in it. It's more about the timing and the temperature, right? So you want your chocolate to be hot enough that it doesn't set when it hits the cream cheese, because chocolate will just seize and set if it gets too cold too fast. And then you want your chocolate to be, you know, warm but not like blazing hot. So we want it kind of just melted here. We don't want to let it sit over the heat and let it kind of just really heat up and be really hot. If it does get too hot, that's okay. You can just take it and let it sit aside and let it cool down a little bit. You can see that it's nice and melted. It's warm to the touch, but not gonna like burn you or anything. Okay, I'm gonna keep my water for the next step, and I'm just gonna scrape this down. Okay, just Just go ahead and scrape it down. You want to make sure that, you know, your cream cheese is all nice and smooth. Mine is not smooth, so I'm just gonna keep mixing it. Okay, so our cream cheese is nice and smooth and soft, and we are ready to add our chocolate. We want to add all of our chocolate at one time and then immediately turn it on, slow, and then speed it up to incorporate the chocolate so it doesn't have a time to seize or set on the sides. In it goes. Go ahead and pour all of your chocolate in. Okay. Up, and then start your mixer, and then turn it up. So you're going to want to give it a nice little scrape, especially initially, because it definitely loves to just kind of sit on the sides or whatever. If you did put your chocolate in too hot, then you can also, it won't be totally the same, but you can put it into the refrigerator and let it kind of chill a little bit, not a ton, and then whip it again. So ours is still cold, so that's great. Now, we've got it all nice and mixed in, and we're going to switch to the whisk attachment to kind of get a little bit of air in there. If your chocolate was kind of on the warmer or the colder side, cooler side when you put it in, then your chocolate, it might already be kind of setting a little bit, and you don't really have time to whisk it. So at that point, you're going to want to get that into your tart pan or into your pie. It'll lighten a little bit in color, maybe like more pale. So it's starting to get a little bit of volume, it's starting to kind of rise, it's starting to lighten, and it's just a delicate balance of levity and also before the chocolate sets. It's still cool, so the chocolate will definitely kind of set in your bowl and then your mousse will be kind of firm, which is no big deal, and you can just continue pressing it out. There's nothing to stress about there. So I'm going to go ahead and get my tart. Alright. So it looks all nice and silky. Alright, go ahead and spread your mousse inside of your ganache. Kind of help it out a little bit. Go ahead and spread it out. All over. Nice and even. Yeah, look at that. Et voila. So we're gonna pop this in the fridge, and then we're gonna start making our meringue. I told you, super easy. Okay, so while our mousse and the other two layers cool, we are gonna make our meringue topping. So this is Swiss meringue, super easy. I've got sugar. So there's an inverse relationship between the proportion of sugar to egg whites in a meringue. So the more sugar that you have in proportion to the whites, the less volume, but the more stable it will be. And the inverse is also true. So the less sugar you have, the more volume you're going to get, but it's not going to be as stable. So we want stability here because we want to be able to make this ahead of time and, you know, several days without it weeping. So I've got a decent amount of sugar, egg whites, boop, boop, boop. And then I'm just going to use a pinch of salt for stabilizer. You could also use cream of tartar if you wish. And then I'm going to whisk this together. And then I've already got my simmering water for my last step, and I'm just going to turn that on, and then we're going to get to whisking. If you want to see this whole process, you can go ahead and check out my marshmallow fluff frosting, which is pretty much the same process. It's also a Swiss meringue. So, you know, if you want to see inside the bowl and what's going on, check that out. So we're going to whisk this constantly, and that kind of starts to create the aeration. It also keeps the egg whites from cooking. And we are basically waiting for the sugar to dissolve into the egg whites and to get to about 120. Okay, we are at 119, 120. Hooray, my bowl is hot. Get your whisk attachment, pop it in there, and then mix it up. That's it. We can now get rid of our water. Go ahead and check her. See where she's at. So we're very soft piece. Here. So carry on. Perfect. All right. And now we are ready to put the finishing touches on our pie. Ta-da! Grab our bowl. We're just gonna pile all of this marshmallow fluff on top. Yes, look at that. Yeah, I know. Is there anything better than marshmallow fluff? I just don't think so. Just don't think so. And then we're just gonna spread this out because we want all of the bits of the pie to have, you know, marshmallow fluff. After all, it is a s'mores pie. And I'm just gonna keep it a little bit mounted up in the center. Okay. And then I'm just gonna do some, like, you know, kind of decorative swirls, to be honest. I think that would be nice here. And we're done. So we are gonna take this and chill it, and then we'll torch it right before we slice it. There's definitely a lot of steps, but it all flows so nicely together, and all of a sudden at the end you have this beautiful, magnificent layered pie. Totally worth it. Our s'mores pie is done. And by done, I mean it's done chilling. So we are ready to torch it and cut it. So get yourself a kitchen torch. You can also do this under the broiler if you have a gas oven, or you could do like a little like flame thing. It's gonna take a minute, but in a pinch. Yeah, firepower. I like to start gently, kind of like work my way around, you know. I wanna like decoratively. I like to have some white bits, some like extra dark bits. Just, you know, really. Ooh, I'm running out of gas. That's all she wrote. Good enough. It is time to cut. Get myself a pie thing. But you can also use, we might want, you know, a fork of sorts. Hot knife. Go ahead and place it in my water, let it sit there for a second. To get really beautiful clean lines, especially with chocolate like this, you're gonna want a hot knife. Okay, let's wipe that off. Go ahead and cut down in there. Oh my goodness, it cuts so nice. Now, my meringue probably could have chilled a little bit longer, but daylight was a-wasting. Get under there. Yeah, like definitely could have waited a little longer for my meringue to set, but you know, it's time to try. Yes! Been waiting all day for this, just saying. Oh my gosh, look at these layers. If I just let them set a little longer, but look at the layers. Beautiful ganache, nice silky mousse in there. Oh goodness gracious, this is gonna be just I die. All the flavors come together like the best s'mores you've ever had. Like a little bit of whiskey, like, but make it adult, you know? Silky smooth ganache. The dark chocolate plays really nicely with the milk chocolate, so nothing is too sweet or overwhelming. Your graham cracker crust is like crunchy and perfect, and like adds a bit of texture to the whole thing. Perfection. Just saying. Bye.